Well, folks, we have on the line all the way from Canada, in Ontario, in Canada. We've got Karli June. How you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You've got a brand new EP out as well. You've got loads of songs on there. Tell us more about it.
So the EP is called Where You Come From, and every song on there is inspired by one part of my life that has really been a core of making me who I am. So everywhere from small town to my faith to heartbreak, those are the things that shape you into who you are.
Yeah, it's straight that proper country music there, right there.
Exactly.
But I mean, there's a good collection of songs there, not all the same as well. So you've got a nice blend of different songs. So when a listener, gets a song, sometimes I think nowadays, and I do labor on this point sometimes, some of the new country music, whether it's in Nashville or throughout the world, you tend to get an album, you go, it's the same beat, or it's the same kind of context of tailgates and beer and all that kind of stuff. And I know, and when you get songs like yourselves, it's just like a nice breath of fresh air. And Canadian country, which we just spoke to offer, it holds its own in the world.
I totally agree. Yeah, country is in my roots, and I mean, I grew up on a dairy farm, so trucks and tailgates are very relevant to me. But there's, I think, a deeper part of country music that I wanted to touch on this record, and that's sometimes like the hard stuff
Yeah.
of life. Hmm.
And did lockdown, obviously, it's a sad time, for everybody. But did that allow you to be more creative than you would have normally been?
Yeah, it did. It was a very different because we had to adapt to doing everything, of course, virtually, which is a different type of creativity. So it was very challenging, but it definitely brought out some songs that I think would definitely not have existed if it wasn't for that.
And did you manage to keep live, like doing like live streams, keeping the concert kind of vibe going?
Yeah, I kind of toyed with that a little bit more at the beginning, right when the pandemic happened, when Instagram lives were exploding.
Oh,
I did a few of those, which was fun. But then we got really serious into the recording part of my record, so I was busy setting up a vocal booth in my closet at home.
I think you and about a million others, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. But it was fun. We had some good laughs, but I'm excited
Yeah.
to get to, write with people in person again.
Oh, brilliant. So there's a lot of Zoom kind of write-ups as well, some collaborations and things like that.
Yeah, and still a little bit of that going on. But for me, I know I really miss just writing with people in person. So I'm excited to get back to that.
And I mean, I know the COVID restrictions over in Canada have eased gradually. They're a little bit behind the UK because at the moment we seem to be, although it is picking up a little bit over here, to be honest with you. But we've just had a big festival, country to country, over in London a couple of weeks ago, which I was involved with down there and stuff. And there's a few people come back with COVID. Thank God, touch wood. I've not caught it, but it just seems that in Canada, because obviously I've just said to you off air, I'm coming over there next week, and I didn't book it until your president went, okay, yeah, we can let people come in, and you don't have to self-isolate. You can have a test at the airport and all that. I went, I'm going. Because
Yeah.
yeah, and I know there's been some kind of blockades as well, haven't they? And some of the truckers have really took to the streets. I think that forced a lot of decisions, I think, as well. But musically, it seems to now be opening up slightly a little bit more for you.
Yeah, it is. We're now kind of playing catch up from the last couple of years in terms of shows and everything. So it's so exciting, and it's very invigorating to know that that's coming back. It brings back the life to your art. Playing live is so important. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited just to even be able to go out and meet people. That's why I do what I do, is I love people, and so I'm excited, and I've missed that so very
Yeah.
much.
And I'm trying to keep abreast of any gigs over in Toronto and Montreal and Quebec. I know I'm missing Luke Combs by a day, I think, in Montreal, but I did see him in London a couple of weeks ago, so that's not too bad. But what's it called? There's a place in Toronto I've already sourced out and booked a table. What's it called?
Rock and
Rock and
Horse?
Horse Saloon.
Yeah.
Is
Oh
that a good
yeah.
place?
You know what? I've actually never been there. There used to be a country bar in Toronto called Boots and Bourbon that I used to play at
Oh,
quite
wow.
often. And then when that closed, it was pretty much close to when the Rock and Horse was just getting going. And then the pandemic hit shortly after.
Ah, right.
I haven't, but I'm very much looking forward to hopefully playing there.
They've got a book in Bronco, but I don't think I'll go on it because I'm very accident prone.
Oh, you gotta do it just once.
I'll end
Tell
up
the
in traction for 3 weeks, you know. But like you said, you come from a dairy farm, obviously growing up. I mean, was a lot of music in your family growing up? Was your parents and any siblings that you may have very musical?
That's a funny story. No, not at all. So, yeah, I grew up with a family that loved music, but there's not one person in my family that I know of that has any musical
Wow.
really gene in them. Yeah, so I don't really know where it came from, but I know I was very, very drawn to it from a young age.
And when was your first gig? What age was you when you first got on stage and picked up the mic?
8. I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I signed up just to sing a solo at Christmas for our school. You could just sign up, and there's a little assembly in the morning. And my parents were like, "What are you doing? Why did you sign up for that?" But I was like, "Well, I want to do it. I love singing." And so they came and they realized, okay, she's got talent and she's serious about this. And then from there, they kind of helped me find some competitions to enter, and it just sort of built from there. And when you're from a small town too, word kind of spreads fast. So when you're that girl that sings, suddenly, my grandma wanted me to come sing at her Women's Institute events, and singing in church was a big thing for me too. And then it kind of turned to county fairs, and other churches wanted me to come and sing for them. So it was,
Oh.
yeah.
And has it always been country music, or was you, is it in your DNA, or was it something that you think, well, I like a little bit of different genres and bring that to your musical platform?
Country has always been my first love, I think, because the stories are so relevant to me and just how I grew up, and just feels like home to me, when I listen to that. But I love other genres of music as well, and I think that's definitely inspiration and kind of my style. There's a little bit of rock and roll in there in my style. I don't know if you picked that up
Yeah.
in some of
That's why I
the.
asked the question, to be fair, because it's nice to speak to somebody and different than, than I'm used to speaking to, and and then you're thinking to yourself, there's a vibe in these songs that, like I was brought up on the Beatles. I live quite near Liverpool anyway, and that rock and roll kind of thing. And then I got into the 80s and 90s kind of rock, and then discovered country music via Garth Brooks. I saw this guy jumping off stage, smashing guitars, and I went, I'm going that way, And then my mum said, "You're not smashing guitars, we can't afford it."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's so cool.
yeah, so it's nice to have that into, I've only wrote a couple of songs, but I do try to bring in some kind of rock kind of element into it if I can, but it's quite interesting that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like those two go so well
Yeah.
together, country and rock, and I love it. Yeah, I grew up. My dad loved Meatloaf. That was a
Wow.
huge one. The Bad Out of Hell album we listened
Oh,
to so many times. It's probably still his favorite record. So
yeah.
that's kind of where that comes from, that side of me.
Well, he's an amazing, or he was an amazing songwriter and exhibitionist and performer.
Yeah.
Just briefly, I did a gig because I've been a performer for like 22 years, something like that. And I did a big holiday park in Wales over here. And it's funny you mentioned Meatloaf, because my agent said to me, he said, do you know any Mexican kind of music? I said, why? He said, well, it's a caravan place. And can you just do an hour? And I said, yeah, I can, Guantanamera and La Bamba and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did that. But as I turned up, the evening entertainment had took over the entire stage, and it was a Meatloaf tribute artist. He had the bike, How to Bat Out of Hell. He had a mural that covered probably 20, 30 foot of stage, a bat out of hell. He looked like him. He was bent over, but he had this really thick northern accent in the UK. You know, he looked like Meatloaf, and he just said, "All right, lad, how are you?" You know, it's just crazy. Apparently, he got sued by Meatloaf as well shortly after.
Wow.
Yeah. But he had the bike and everything. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
I know, but yeah, I used to see him parked up in the service. You know, you're driving home and they're getting the head down and that. But yeah, it just reminded me that when you said Meatloaf. But like I said, the EP's out now. Have you got a tour coming round? Have you got anything planned to hit the road?
Nothing in the books yet, but it definitely will be happening in the future.
And have you ever been to the UK?
I have. I've been to London.
Mm.
Yeah, and I loved it. And I've also been to Ireland. I'm actually Irish, so like
Right.
generations back. So yeah,
There's a
so
strong link between Ireland and Canada, isn't there? There is a definite link
yes,
there. Yeah. I
yes,
mean,
there-
same here. I mean, I've got, like, my mum's side is Irish. A couple of generations gone. I wouldn't say are immediately Irish. I don't go and celebrate Paddy's Day, you know, St. Patrick's Day. But I looked into it a little bit further, and there's a link here with Canada as well, in a very tentative way. And going back quite a few generations, my mum's maiden name is Dillon, Dilllion. But there was an Irish settlement for French people. There was a French settlement in Ireland called Dillon, and that became Dillon. So somewhere in my DNA is French.
okay.
And I know I'm
Yeah.
going to Montreal and Quebec, but I can't speak any of the French language. I'll just be pointing. I'll have that with chips. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think
You've got a fire pit party. You've got 6 people that you can bring to the fire pit. And like I say, it could be family. It could be a mixture between family, friends, musical influences, etc. School teachers. Who would those 6 people be?
Well, first I would definitely invite my husband.
Good choice. A lot of people miss the spouses out. Yeah.
No, he's my number one supporter for sure. And then closely probably tied, you know, with my parents. I'd have to invite Shania because Shania was who I listened to out in the barn when my dad was milking cows. And I was just amazed by her. I'm sure a lot of people say that in interviews, but I was captivated by like every song of hers that she did.
Saw her in the UK some years ago. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just incredible, eh? What a performer. And she's like that rock country too.
Oh yeah.
Who else? Let's see, I have to think deep here. I would say I would invite my high school music teacher. He was just such a supporter of me as well. Like she knew nothing about country music. She was a classical music fanatic and loved choral music, but she just really helped me round out and just taught me so much about who you need to kind of be as a person, as a musician, and just the importance of keeping your heart attached to it and doing it for the right reasons and just finding strength. And I think that's such a big part of it. So definitely invite her. And my producer, I don't know how many I'm at. I think I'm at 5.
No, it's good. I mean, it's a generic question anyway, because I used to say 5 people, and then people say, "Oh," I said, "Well, I've 6." But it's really just to invoke a thought process of who you are as a person, really, sometimes, because it's already give me an indication that you're a strong family person. Mm-hmm. You've got, you know, you pay credit to people who's inspired you going forward, which is your school musical teacher, but also an inspiration, an artist inspiration, which is quite key for a lot of people. Like I said, with me, it's Garth Brooks. With you,
Yeah.
Shania Twain. And Shania, for me, in the 90s was, even now, is unbelievable. I missed her last time I went to Canada. I missed her by a day in Calgary. I was kicking myself. But I have seen her over here when, when was it? Man, I Feel Like a Woman was out. She did a tour. Yeah. And there was a great Irish Canadian band called Leahy.
Yeah.
Are they still about? Are they still about?
I'm not sure. That actually, I feel like honestly it was my high school music teacher that told me about Leahy.
Very, very Gaelic violin rock. And they obviously supported her, but also they came on and did quite a few songs with her, is it Do You Think I Love You? And in the video they played the fiddle, the fiddle, and she's dancing in the rain and all that. Yeah.
Is it That Don't Impress Me Much?
No, it's not that one. It's off that album, but it's but yeah, Leahy, and I got an album of him at the time, when I was at the concert, and very, very good. It just came into my head then for some reason. But no, that's brilliant. So, but I want to say thank you so much, and thanks for coming on to the show. And like I said, I wish you good luck with your EP. I said we'll play a few tracks later on, and good luck with the tour and everything coming your way. You never know, we might bump into you in Toronto.
I would love that. I hope so. I really hope so. And thank you so much for having me on.
No, you're welcome.